Welcome to Scaling with Disha, the show that helps online entrepreneurs to scale their business to six figures and beyond without the hustle or the overheads. I'm your host, Disha Waddup, and I'll be here each week to remind you that you can do anything you set your mind to. Hello and welcome to another episode of Scaling with Disha. I am so excited that you are here. We're on episode 14 and wow, has this been an amazing journey. Thank you so much for hitting the subscribe button, because I know if you're listening, you have already done that. And if you have not, go ahead and do it now. Today's episode is going to be so jam-packed full of stuff and really useful for you if you have a Facebook group, you are thinking about a Facebook group and you're not sure what the next steps are, or if it is even right for you. I want to dive into the pros and cons of having a Facebook group and if it's really a good decision for you now in your business, because ultimately it's not a good decision for everybody in their business at this time. And that is okay. There are other ways to market your business. You don't need a Facebook group, but a Facebook group is a fantastic tool and resource to have. So why am I the person telling you all about Facebook groups? If you don't already know, I am a Facebook community manager, certified by Facebook, one of only a few thousand now across the entire world. I have built and grown Facebook groups for myself, for my clients, and we now have an agency that community manage and do social selling with inside Facebook groups as well. So I really do know my stuff when it comes to Facebook groups. And we're going to have some fantastic stuff inside of the podcast over the next few weeks, talking all about Facebook groups. If you haven't already signed up, I have an 11 steps to growing your own Facebook group, which after this episode, you'll be able to decide if that is a good step for you. You can download that. Link is down in the show notes. And I have a brand new course coming out in which I help you to grow a profitable Facebook group. So not just growing a group for the sake of growing it, but really turning it into a money-making machine, which is the sole aim of having a Facebook group, right? Especially if we are in business. So let's dive straight in. I want to go through the cons first. So I have had Facebook groups my entire entrepreneurial journey. And I asked in the Facebook group for certified community managers by Facebook as well, because I wanted to get a full rounded opinion of what the cons and pros are of having a Facebook group and whether it really is the right step for you. So we'll dive into the cons first, because I like to always end on a positive note. So the cons of having a Facebook group: it really is quite time consuming. And if you have dived into having a Facebook group in the past, or you have a Facebook group now, but there is no engagement, people aren't commenting, people aren't posting, that's because you're not spending enough time in the group. The Facebook groups are time consuming. You get out of a Facebook group as much as you put in. If you are creating content on a whim that you think is good on the day, and you're not really sitting down and thinking about that content and having a strategy to move your group members through, then that is why it's not working for you. It is time consuming to have your own Facebook group. So it is something to consider, whether you hire a community manager, whether you dive head first into a group, knowing full well the time that it's going to take to make it a success. With inside the group, because people can post, people can comment, conflicts can arise. So if it is a large group, then it is often a PR issue or a press issue. If something is not working or there's a conflict in the group, we saw a lot of that with the BLM movement, and a lot of community managers handled that amazingly well. And the racist comments that were coming out and how they were muted very fast. But it is an issue that you need to be across as a community manager or somebody who owns a Facebook group, is managing those conflicts, those discussions around what is happening in the world right now and how you handle that and how you choose to dumb down those fires or flames or put those fires out or whether you ignite them. If it is a healthy discussion, then of course you can inspire that conversation. But often it can turn nasty pretty quickly if you don't have a community manager that is on the ball. And depending on your group, again, it can take time, and often, remember, Facebook is 24 hours, and often these conflicts start in the evening or at the weekends, and you need to be able to respond or squash those as quickly as possible. So it is something to consider. The other thing, I've got my notes down here. The other thing is not knowing who is sharing advice in the group. So, for example, when GDPR came around, there were a lot of people who thought they know what they were talking about and were sharing advice inside of groups. You see this a lot inside groups where people put their nose in, where they don't necessarily know what they're talking about, and they're giving advice that isn't right, isn't correct, and people are taking that advice because it is inside your Facebook group. So that is something to consider, and it is annoying, right? When people give advice in your group and you know it's not correct, how do you handle that? I'm not saying you should delete it. It's a business decision that you have to make as a community manager and as a person within your running a group. You need to make that decision and that call on who you allow to comment and pass advice to others inside of your group as well. Facebook have created a new option where you can give people a sticker that classes them an expert inside the group. So that is something that you consider to help with that conflict there and people sharing advice as well. It can be hard to switch off. If you have a community, as I said, communities run 24 hours a day, whether that's the weekends or evenings, and it's on your phone and easy for you. So it can be hard for you to switch off. I have an episode coming up, if you make sure you tune in, all about reducing distractions on social media. It will be episode 18. And make sure that you stay tuned for that. And we'll be going through how you can manage your time better so that you can switch off and you can disconnect from your community and have that time off yourself. So make sure you tune in for that episode as well. There is a lack of customization with your Facebook group. Facebook is Facebook, right? Zuckerberg designed it exactly that way. So there is a lot of things that you cannot change within the Facebook platform that you perhaps could change if you used a different platform or a different community. This is going to the next point as well, that if Zuckerberg does something that annoys the rest of the world, and people decide to boycott Facebook, which we all go through those stages where everybody's like boycotting Facebook because Zuckerberg's done something wrong, and then your engagement will drop within the community, and you cannot control that. That's something that you cannot control. You cannot control some of the customization aspect as well. Unfortunately, we are playing in somebody else's arena, and we have to play with the tools that they have given us. And sometimes that does negatively affect our business, but it is also a plus. And that brings me on to moving on to the pros of having a Facebook group. Everybody has had Facebook at some point, whether they have it now, whether they actively use it. Everybody has had Facebook or may have a login. So it is a really accessible platform for people to be able to use. I know that I have disconnected from communities that I was a very active member of when they have moved to other platforms, because I don't know that platform. It's hard for me to use. I have to go somewhere else on a different app to be able to connect with the same community. And I disconnected from that community because it wasn't as easy as Facebook. So Facebook is super, super easy, accessible, and easy for people to navigate. They know and understand it, rather than creating custom apps and other options where you can create these community spaces. It often makes a disconnect between the user and the community, whereas Facebook makes it super, super easy for everybody. Creating a group is fantastic social proof. So if you have a large community, everyone's like, oh my God, she is amazing. Look at the group that she has built and the community that is sharing inside that group. It is social proof of how good you are. clients can share back and can comment and engage with you there. They can also talk to you about how awesome you are and how much they love your stuff. It is a really, really fantastic tool for you to leverage that social proof without having to create it yourself. So it's fantastic there. You are not the only person creating content. So inside of your group, the whole group is creating content. People ask questions. People post in there themselves. Depending on who your target audience is for your group, people network inside of those groups. They are constantly connecting with others inside the group. And it's a great way that takes the pressure off you as a content creator to always have the answers, to always be creating amazing content, and to constantly be pushing the boundaries there. The communication inside of the group is two-way. So they can post, other people can post, you can have conversations. It is completely different to a page scenario where you have to be able to be the only person that's creating content. People can comment on those posts, but when people share their own posts, nobody sees it. So it is a fantastic way of creating that community feel, and it really does create a community. It is a fan base of raving fans, your Facebook group, and you can create it in a way that is going to make you sales. So that is the key thing about Facebook groups. They are not just a community for community's sake. If you are going to spend this much time, effort, money, creativity inside of your Facebook group, make sure that it is going to be worthwhile. Make sure that it is going to actually generate income for you. And that is the aim of a Facebook group. Just having a Facebook group for the social proof of it, as an entrepreneur, it is not at all worth it. You want to make sure that those people are part of your ecosystem and are in your email list, on your personal page, and on your Instagram and everywhere else that you are visible, so that they can really, really get to know, love, and trust you, and ultimately buy from you. If you're not inside of my Facebook group yet, then have a search on Facebook for Scaling with Disha and join the Facebook group now. It's a fantastic community of amazing entrepreneurs who are growing and learning together, just like this podcast as well. So I think personally, a Facebook group is for people who are already building an audience. It is hard to build a Facebook group if you don't know who your target clients are, which brings me back to when you are ready to start a Facebook group. You are ready to start a Facebook group when you know who your ideal clients are. You are ready to nurture that group when you know how to speak to those ideal clients, because so many people come to me and they say, my Facebook group is not engaged. Nobody is joining my Facebook group. I don't know what I'm doing with my Facebook group. It's a waste of time. And it's because they're not talking to their target clients. They are being super generic. They're being super fluffy. They're not sharing the why and reasons why they want to work with them. And it is super high level, fluffy stuff in the group. It is not deep. It's not meaningful. It's not sharing exactly what they need to do. So it's very, very vague. You want to make sure that if you're going to grow a group, it is super, super specific. You are giving amazing value so people know that you know your stuff and they want to connect with you. I've shared so many pros and cons of having a Facebook group, and I want to know what you think. Let me know either inside of my Facebook group or even send me an email and let me know what you think about having a Facebook group. Do you think it is worthwhile? I want to know, I want to hear from you guys what you think about having a Facebook group. Have you tried it? Is it something that you have been looking at doing but not sure how to go about it? Do you want a Facebook group but concerned about the time that's going to take to build it? Is it worth it money-wise to put this into a Facebook group? If that is you and you want to have a chat with me about how I can help you build a profitable Facebook group, then my program is fantastic, where we help you move through all of the different points that I use to create a profitable Facebook group, including ads, emails, PR, you name it, it's inside this program. Challenges. We've got engagement, social selling. We've got software that I use to manage and sell to my clients with inside of my Facebook group. We've got everything inside there. So make sure that you send me a message if this is something that you are interested in, and I can send you all of the details of the Growing Your Profitable Facebook Group program. And if you have found this at all useful, make sure you go ahead and join my Scaling with Disha Facebook group. And I cannot wait to meet you all inside. I will see you next week. We have the amazing Chris Ward on the podcast talking all about hiring and growing and scaling your business. So make sure you tune in next week, hit the subscribe button, and join us next week as we talk to Chris. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I really hope that you genuinely learned something from today's episode. If you found this episode useful, then please hit the subscribe button and leave us a review. I personally read each and every one. Until next time, bye.